The way things work between Carolina and Learfield and how sports are done on the same day, baseball is going to be on the regular network, and the women's basketball game will be heard locally here in Columbia on our sister station, 98.5 FM WOMG. Brad will hit the air at 4:30, so I don't mind. If you're not listening to us in the 5 o'clock hour because you're listening to Dawn and her team, that's cool.
We get it.
Yeah, free pass.
I have the game on here in the studio, and we'll probably be splitting attention.
But some of you will likely, that aren't listening right now, may be asking us that. We'll probably be fielding that question in the 5, but that's the way it works. Women's basketball, 98.5 FM, 5 o'clock tip from Albany. And baseball, 6:45 tonight, 7 o'clock, first pitch, game 2 of 3 in Tuscaloosa. Speaking of women's basketball, as we speak, the second quarter has just started in Albany, Oregon State, and Notre Dame. The Beavers lead 17-15, again, very early in this one. This is a 2-3 matchup, Notre Dame the 2. The winner will play the winner of South Carolina, Indiana. So that's how that one's working. And then tonight we've got games out west for the other regional that'll be on Carolina's side of the bracket. And I don't currently have those in front of me, but I'll get them in just a second. Also today, guest-wise, our good friend Mike Waddell, who I went to high school with, and we went separate ways in media back in the day. He went into athletics administration and now has circled back into media with the North Carolina Sports Network, and he's going to join us at 4 with the latest on what's going on between the Atlantic Coast Conference, Florida State, and Clemson. It's wild to me, especially after the fantastic performance Clemson put down last night in men's basketball, that the ACC is celebrating its members. Of course, North Carolina lost one that they didn't need to lose. I'll say it like that. We'll come back around to that one in just a second. But as...
it did end their season.
It did. As the ACC celebrates Clemson's achievement, the first Elite Eight that Clemson basketball has reached in 44 years, they're suing each other. It's just weird, man. It's just that there's a lot of words, but weird feels most apropos.
You shouldn't be allowed to tout your conference after a big win like that if you're currently in an active lawsuit against them.
Yeah, well, or vice versa, right? Like, yeah, I mean, the conference is doing it too. Like, hey, and then tonight the conference has NC State and Duke. Both are underdogs. Clemson was an underdog. North Carolina last night was not. Who was the big that shot the 3 from the left side and didn't need to?
Oh, Jalen Withers from North Carolina, 21% three-point shooter.
Why did he shoot that?
With 15 seconds on the shot clock?
I mean, I know sometimes you think I'm open. And look, if he knocks it down, I get it. But you don't shoot that, period. It's not even about knocking it down. Look, if that's the first half of a game in February at home, okay.
Knock it down, get you some confidence, and then maybe you don't be a 21% three-point shooter.
But with a minute-ish to go in the tournament, in a tight game, I mean, Hubert has almost got to be saying, listen, right now, only RJ can shoot. Or Armando if he is within 5 feet.
If you catch Armando on the roll.
Other than that, only RJ can shoot. And I know that's a little too much, but I was like, what? I mean, I really did out loud. I went like, what? Like, are you like that, Because it was almost unfathomable that you're going to shoot that basketball. Now, again, as you said, 21%. Okay, that means 1 in 5 of them go down. And if you knock it in, you're like, it's like in Major League, nice catch, Hayes. Don't ever bleep and do it again. But more to the point is you've got to let that time roll off the clock. You were winning.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it was by 1 point, you were winning. You will work. RJ will work a foul. He'll go to the line.
He made like 8 free throws.
Yeah, he was knocking him down. He was as calm as he could be, knocking him down. Even when he got banged up, he was like, "I'm good."
Even if he's 4 for 20 from the field.
Yeah. Oh, Alabama,
he was knocking him down at the line.
And I thought about you because we were talking about it. Alabama doesn't like to defend, and they at least rushed a lot of what he wanted to do. I wouldn't say they defend the way they defend, and they play an NBA brand. I appreciate that.
They live with the results,
but they at least they accelerated his pace. That's what I think that was how they defended him. So I don't know that they were like all in his face as much as just making him work quicker than what they typically do. That's what was happening to him last night. But he was making his free throws. He would have gotten to the line again. I have almost no doubt of that. But in terms, I mean, you got to let 6, 8, 10 more seconds roll off that shot clock. It was just bad basketball in the wrong moment, and Alabama took advantage. And then for Clemson, man, listen, they're playing, there's no doubt in my mind they are playing their best basketball. I mean, right? But they are defending well. Hall, I think, I'm not going to say he's the kind of guy I talk about when I say clutch. He doesn't elevate his game. He's not being intimidated by the moment. He's playing the same type of basketball he plays. And Clemson, like South Carolina, not really accustomed to getting much done in this tournament at all, even getting into this tournament. But he is playing just a really steady brand of basketball. They've got some nice pieces around him. And, you know, that little cut move they made for him, you know, that inbound play.
That won the game.
Yeah.
And that was, I don't know if that was by design or not, but if you stop that play at the top of it, right before he decides to make that cut, almost every Arizona defender is defending the three-point line.
I think I would like to believe that it was absolutely by design and that it was worth a $500,000 raise minimum for Brad Brownell, the one play alone,
if not more.
Yeah, just the one play alone.
That might have earned Brad Brownell a lifelong contract, akin to what Kentucky and Kyle Perry had.
And are there a lot of gigs where he might still be in the running? They're kind of the gigs are. They're filling up.
They are. Pat Kelsey, Louisville. That one's filled up. I mean,
West Virginia got filled.
And then Washington State's going to be an opening.
Yeah, but he ain't going there.
I don't think he'd want to do that.
Yeah, he's not going there. I mean,
to coach in the WCC.
Yeah, so
with Gonzaga against Gonzaga every year.
But congratulations to Clemson tonight. NC State, Marquette, Duke, and Houston, Gonzaga, and Purdue, Creighton, and Texas. So we'll preview those for you in just a little bit. Got some NFL notes to get to as well, and a few Gamecock football notes too. So again, we'll talk to Stuart Lake, Mike Waddell, and at 4:30, our good friend John Whittle will join us with a little baseball and football talk as well. 803-404-6100 to join us on the phone line to the text line, and we'll have more on Elijah winning the Atomic Wing Challenge at Quaker Steak and Lube.
Winning and surviving.
The follow-up to this, though, will be how Elijah's doing on Monday.
That's true. Or in, I don't know, 4 hours?
Yeah,
roughly.
You'll be all right.
I think I'm good.
You look good right now.
I think the worst part has passed. I think it's smooth sailing from here. But if I sound awful tomorrow at 11:30 to 1:45.
I don't think it has, man. I don't think it has.
You don't think so?
Not yet.
My hubris might get the best of me here.
Yeah. Braves and Phillies are getting it going, too, in Philadelphia on what is now finally opening day for Atlanta fans, myself included. You are listening to the Postgame Show. Love telling you about our good friends at Cato's Power Equipment. Want to remind you again that throughout the month of March, so a couple of days left in this, today and tomorrow, they're open. Homeowner mowers are on sale, up to $500 off. They'll even finance them for you for up to 5 years. And going on right now, their huge Mow the Distance sale. Check this out now, 15% off all steel products. Like today, I had to do some lumberjacking, and perhaps a nice new steel chainsaw would have been beneficial. I may be calling Ben very soon about that. 10% off all parts, 20% off suggested retail on most commercial mowers. You landscapers out there, great time to get into Cato's. And they have closeout models left on the showroom floor, $2,000 to $3,000 below the normal sale price. Again, they're open on Saturdays this time of year as well. 4012 West Beltline Boulevard. And learn a lot more at catospowerequipment.com. Yeah. Yeah. Nineteen minutes after 3 o'clock on this Friday afternoon. Stuart Lake will join us coming up in just a little bit. Gamecock baseball analyst Mike Waddell, former AD at Towson, associate AD at Arkansas and Illinois, now back in media up in North Carolina. He'll join us at 4 on what's going on between the ACC, FSU, and Clemson, and new details this week. But Mike was in the courtroom in Charlotte last week while ACC lawyers, FSU lawyers, and Disney lawyers were all in front of a judge, which, by the way, that judge is expected to issue his ruling, at least something initial, within the next 2 weeks. So there is some news that will be coming. Now, how definitive and final it is remains to be seen. And, of course, whoever doesn't get what they like is going to move that on to some other court. So we're a long way off from that one. But Mike will join us in a bit. John Whittle will join us as well. And again, Carolina women's basketball, I want to go ahead and remind you on our sister station today, 4:30 airtime, 5 o'clock tip, Gamecocks and Indiana in the Sweet 16, 98.5 FM is where that will be in the 5 o'clock hour. Before we do anything else, yesterday we had this as it broke to us during our head. When was that? I forget exactly when.
A little after 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
It's towards the end, I guess, of the headlines.
But we got the news that former Gamecock quarterback Chris Smelly was missing. He and his family were on vacation on the Gulf, and he had gone out on a kayak, and the sheriff's department's water rescue team was looking for him. The Coast Guard was looking for him. They had helicopters, they had boats, they had jet skis. They knew about where he had put in, but the good news now, though, is that he has been found safe. He has actually even been able to do a media interview. But what basically happened was he said he went out and he said he knows he messed up. And he's basically said as much. He's paraphrased, like, I went out with nothing. I didn't have a life jacket. It was just calm. I thought I was just going out for a little quick kayak thing in some nice, calm Gulf of Mexico water. And he said he got a little more than a half mile away from shore when he realized that he was being tugged out quickly. And he said as hard as he was able to paddle, he was losing to the ocean, and ultimately was found more than 2 miles from shore because he just kept drifting. He said he didn't have anything with him at all. So, and it was several hours, and his wife called the authorities, and everybody was worried. He has told Alabama.com, quote, I went out with nothing. It was really calm. I didn't have a life jacket, but the wind blew me out pretty quickly. I got about a half mile from the coast, knew right away I was in trouble. I made 3 really hard paddles, giving it all I could, and was still moving backwards. I knew this wasn't good. He said the big takeaway for me is the absolute power of prayer. I know there was a network of people praying for me in Tuscaloosa, in Birmingham, in Sylacauga. That's where he lives and coaches now. When I got back, I saw so many messages from coaches and players. It was really overwhelming. He said he thought about taking his phone, but then, I'm going in the ocean, I guess is what his thought process was. He just was going to try to catch a few fish, maybe. Again, he's on a kayak, not on anything with power. He's on a kayak. Pretty cool looking little kayak, I'll say, because they showed the kind of kayak he was on. He says, I was going to take my phone and had a Ziploc bag with me, but just decided not to. I usually go out for about an hour. I've done it so many times. I just took it for granted. Lesson learned on that. I had 2 trolling lines behind me. The wind was blowing me so far back. The baits were in front of me. That told me right there I wasn't going in the right direction. I saw a lifeguard out Wednesday on the beach. My first thought was, man, this is going to be embarrassing if they have to come save me on a Sea-Doo. I was just hoping a boat would come out. By about 10, I had a feeling the only way I was going to get rescued was a Coast Guard helicopter, and that's what happened. That's a long time that he was out there.
A terrifyingly
That's
long
a long time, man. I can't imagine. I remember one time when the day I shouldn't have gone out on a raft at the beach, and there's a couple of buddies you need to, able to come pull you back in kind of a thing before you ever get to, and that's nothing. It's this is a bad idea to be out here today. I can't possibly imagine being pulled to the point where you realize you are now literally miles from shore.
That's scary.
Yeah.
That is
and you're just a little speck. You think it might be easy to find somebody, but once it's getting dark and, again, you're a literal drop in the bucket of a big old place. Scary.
Haunting.
Yeah, scary.
He's lucky.
He is. His wife said that she started worrying about 10:30. Around 11:30 in the morning is when the lifeguards got involved. So it was about 4 hours after he left. And again, it was obviously many, many hours later before he was finally found. But he's good. He was good. He said, sometimes I kept fishing just to pass the time. I mean, you got to keep your mind.
At that point, yeah.
You got to keep your mind going. And luckily it wasn't anything where he was capsized in it or, worse. So,
thankfully, yeah.
He's able to stay afloat in the kayak. I can only imagine. He says the waves were big. I almost turned over about 3 times. It definitely turned into a survival-type feeling. I was not in calm waters. The rescue team said that we knew if he was on the kayak, he was going to be okay. He was going to be found eventually. That's what I told his wife. This is, again, somebody from the sheriff's department. He could have been knocked off by a wave. A million things could have happened. So,
yeah,
thanks to all involved. But Chris is a good guy. Again, he's coaching high school. Sylacauga, by the way, is southeast of Birmingham. It's kind of a little more due south of Talladega and a little southeast of Birmingham, probably 30, 45 minutes from downtown Birmingham. So that's where he's living now and coaching football. So his community will be glad to have him back. His family obviously is beyond thrilled and relieved. And we are too. He's a good guy. Transferred out of here, just wasn't working out quarterback-wise for him here. He's from Alabama, and he went actually and finished at Bama playing baseball. He was a very good baseball player too. So he actually didn't even go back to Bama to play football. He went to finish up playing baseball, but coaching football now. So that was a scary story yesterday.
Terrifying.
And I had a few people hitting me, and and you and I mentioned it, and it was one of those things when we got the news. I say to the audience, it's hard to talk about, and it's hard to move on from at the same time too. You want to do more, and it's just for anybody trying to even think about that, you're helpless. You've got to let, again, the Coast Guard did their job, and the Sheriff's Department, which again is used, those coastal sheriff's departments and police departments are good with water rescue operations and things like that and patrols. So they've got the capability and the resources, but nevertheless, you just have to sit there
and hope.
Yeah. And it's a hard story to talk about, but now, thank goodness, it's an easy story to talk about.
It is now. Yeah, thankfully. And I think when he said he learned a lesson, I believe him.
Yeah. Oh, I do too. Yeah, I do too. I mean, you'll take your phone and you'll take a life jacket, right?
That'll complete the checklist.
Yeah. I mean, and like he said, you got a Ziploc, put it in there. Take your phone. Yeah, good idea. Good idea. Glad Chris is okay. All right, speaking of Alabama baseball, Gamecocks fall 4-3 last night. Game 2 of a 3-game set in Tuscaloosa tonight at 7 o'clock. Stuart Lake, color analyst for Carolina Baseball, will join us on the other side to talk about that and more as the postgame show continues.
Got some massive tournament basketball games tonight, and if your bracket is busted like a lot of ours, thanks Auburn, you can still enjoy these tournament games with our friends at Underdog Fantasy. And one way that I'm getting in on this action here is the Pick'em game. The Pick'em game is incredibly easy, just like the app is to download. The game is easy to play. You just pick 2 to 5 players from multiple teams, and you pick a Pick'em entry by picking stats, whether higher or lower, and all different kinds of projections. Tonight, I am really big on Marquette's Tyler Kolek to get higher than 8 assists. So tell me if you would like. But we also do rivals, a lot of stuff that you can do on Underdog Fantasy. And here's how you get in. You just download the app or go to UnderdogFantasy.com, sign up with promo code 1075, and Underdog will match your first deposit up to $100, plus they'll give you a mystery special pick. Again, it's Underdog Fantasy, promo code 1075, must be 18 and older. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Just gave you the good news on former Gamecock and technically former Crimson Tide baseball player, former Gamecock quarterback and Alabama baseball player Chris Smelly found safe in the Gulf of Mexico last night by Coast Guard and Walton County authorities. So very good news for him and his family after a scary few hours out on the water. And we return our attention back towards Carolina baseball and welcome back onto the program Stuart Lake. He is the new full-time color analyst for Carolina baseball, sitting primarily alongside our good friend Derek Scott. They, of course, in Tuscaloosa, game 2 of a 3-game set tonight. Gamecocks fall last night 4-3, 20-6 on the year, 4-3 in conference play. Bama is also now 20-6. They are 3-4. Coach Lake, good to have you on, sir. How you doing?
Jay, doing good, man. Excited to be on here with you guys.
Yeah, it's good to have you. And, we all know the role that you have now filled from our dear, dear friend Tommy Moody, and we miss him all the time like you do. What's, you've done a lot of this already through the years, Stuart, in terms of analyzing ball games now on a full-time basis. Probably not a whole lot different for you, huh?
Well, to be honest, Jay, it's been different because I was always with Tommy, and I always pick on Derek with that. So Derek and I are kind of figuring each other out a little bit of how we're going to do it because Tommy was the guy that, Drew Meyer, myself, all of us, they kind of took us through the ropes. So there's no doubt, think of Tommy every time we're doing something. And Derek and I on the way over here yesterday were telling Tommy stories to each other in the car. So he is certainly still a big part of it.
Well, I texted you about the role, and I will freely admit, and I have already, and I'll do it again. I probably think about Tommy at least a half dozen times a day. I miss him dearly, and this time of year, whether it's Carolina baseball or the beginning this week of the Major League Baseball season, there's so many things where my mind turns to wanting to talk to Tommy, ask Tommy something, tell Tommy something, pick his brain about something, and it's just odd, man. I mean, I still smile about him. I don't want to ever get down about it, and I don't want to bring people down, but it's especially right now, and I know you feel the same way, Stuart. But we know he's enjoying all the ball games up there with all the people that have gone before us. So, and you're doing a fantastic job. I think everybody certainly believes that. And you know this game inside and out. Let's kind of talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about this team for just a second. This team has really, in my estimation, played one really bad game and had one really bad inning a couple of weeks ago in Oxford. Beyond that, Stuart, every other loss is a one-run loss. There's things you want back in those games, but as you look at these guys and measure where they are right now, what's the thing that pleases you most? What's the thing that is still concerning you most? Oh, did we lose Stuart? Oh, man. I set him up with a good question, too. At least I thought I did.
Jesse's on the line. Let's try some radio magic. I might be able to figure something out.
All right, let's see if he's on. Maybe he's on mute. We'll get him back in just a second. Hang on. But I will ask him those things. But I do think about Tommy a lot. As I'm sitting here watching the Braves right now, or thinking about the Red Sox or something like that. Yeah, what Tommy was. What's Tommy thinking about this year's chances? How nervous would Tommy have been about Jordan Montgomery not signing until earlier this week? Those kind of things. And again, this Carolina team, I'll say before we get Stuart back on the line, I think there's a lot of, like last night, if the bunt goes down in the 8th, people are celebrating, and it's a different kind of game, but it didn't. And again, you got to execute. There's a lot of things you can complain about, but sometimes the guys just got to execute. All right, we got Stuart back online. Don't know where I lost you, Stuart, so I'll set you up again with, right now through 26 games, we're nearing the halfway point of the full regular season, and now getting into the meat of conference play. But what do you like the most about this ball club overall? What still concerns you most about this team overall?
Well, as I told Derek last night, we're about to get to the point in a few more games where I just start looking at SEC stats because the overall stats can kind of skew you a little bit because you don't know who you played. But looking at our overall stats, what I like the most is we've been a strike-throwing pitching staff. And that continues whether you're in conference or out of conference. So I would say the biggest thing that I've liked so much has been our pitching in this form of throwing strikes. Our defense, up until last night, certainly would have been something that you're saying. Last night, I'm hoping was just one of those nights you come into a new ballpark. But, we were leading the league in double plays. We turned a big one last night again.
Yep.
to set us up. Now, offensively, and that was kind of what I did all my career. It's hard, and it really is hard. I guess the thing I have liked about our offense up to this point is we have had the ability to play the game inside the game. I loved it when Brewer was bunting and we're sacrificing guys over because it's so dang hard to score from first base. And the strikeouts, they've still kind of been there. Last night was just a frustrating night for our hitters, but it had a lot to do with their arms. I mean, of that pitching staff last night, those three lefties were legitimate guys. And that had a big part of why the strikeouts and the failure to advance runners happened. But, we're right where we need to be through these 7 games. I mean, if you can come out of here this weekend, obviously you'd love to win a series, Jay, but if you can really just get out of here with a win, these guys are 15-1 at home. Yeah. So this is some home field advantage for sure.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned Alabama's pitchers. I mean, they're high strikeout kind of guys, 10 last night. I mean, they pitched really, really well, and even then you were still in a good position to end up winning this game. But with the last 2 here in this series, after taking a loss like that can be emotionally draining considering you took a lead going into the bottom of the 7th. How do you adjust to playing these next 2 games on the road with a pitching staff that does produce a high number of strikeouts?
Yeah, the biggest thing, and Monty, we've all been walking around the hotel all day. I think I go back to really with Coach Tanner. I felt like anytime we lost, let's just get over and have a great BP and a great in and out the next day. I love giving speeches. I love telling stories. And I'm going to be honest, when you get into league play, what matters is them 9 guys on the field. So getting over there today and just and it's beautiful here in Tuscaloosa today. So I have a really good in and out, a good BP, and just really get back to playing Gamecock baseball because I thought last night we kind of gave in a little bit. The lights were kind of different here and the field not maybe as watered and manicured as we're all used to at Founders. So get over there today and just be Gamecock baseball and find a way to win this game today so that tomorrow means you're playing for the series win.
Talking to Stuart Lake, Gamecock baseball analyst. Again, tonight's game back to a more regular time, Eastern time-wise. 6:45 is the airtime, 7 o'clock Eastern, first pitch from Tuscaloosa. Gamecocks going with SQ tonight, who last week wasn't bad against Vanderbilt. You may see a 3-inning stint and think, well, he just wasn't very good. But you look at the numbers, Vandy wasn't really beating him up or anything. But clearly Mark and Matt didn't like where the trend was going. What did you see last week? What does he most need to correct in your estimation to have a longer go tonight?
Well, he's right to this point from what we've seen from Dylan. He's kind of been a 2 times through lineup guy. And Coach Williams and I talked about it last week. He said, I've got to figure out how we're going to get back. And that doesn't mean you're always going to go 3 times through a lineup either because that could put you in the 6th or 7th inning. But it's just been a case that there's been no third pitch that's really been a strike. So he gets the fastball going. You get your off-speed going, which is his kind of slurve. But then you don't have that changeup that's been working. So that third time through, if you're really kind of relying on 2 pitches, the hitters have kind of set on which one they want to set on, and that's made it hard for SQ to get back through that lineup. And after last night's game, and I know Coach Williams is thinking, and we had Veach in there in the 7th. So is he available tonight? Yeah, he is. Is Gainey available? You'd probably rather not tonight. I'm sitting here looking. I mean, he ended up, with 24 pitches last night. So, probably not a night you'd really rather not run him in there. So I think it was a big night for SQ to get us into that 6th inning, maybe even into the 7th.
And, speaking of the back end of that rotation, we talked a lot about the pitching, but Tyler Pitzer last week, man, lights out in his first career SEC start. I don't know if, we can get better than 9 strikeouts and 1 walk, but where do you kind of foresee his role in the back end of this rotation moving forward?
Well, last week, it seemed like everything last weekend you kept saying, we won't do this to Vanderbilt, and then we did. But, man, you can say 9 strikeouts and only 1 walk. That goes back to what I said earlier. This staff, pretty much, at least the starters, are strike throwers, and so are Gainey and Beach at the end. But I don't know. You got a freshman on the road, so you really never know when he gets to roll out. Will he be trying to, rescue that 1 win of the weekend? Will he be trying to win the series? It'll be his first time doing either. So it'll be exciting again for me to see how he responds because I tell you what, he passes as we used to call the look test when he goes out there and he has some legitimate SEC stuff when he's on the mound.
Stuart, good stuff as always. You and Derek have a good call tonight. This will be the first of many, many times that we get you on the show. We do appreciate it. And again, you're doing fine work, man, and with big shoes. So nice job, man. Seriously.
Well, thank y'all so much. As much as I listen to y'all, and obviously what Tommy meant to all of us, always a compliment when I hear that. So thank you very much.
You bet, buddy. Good stuff. Again, Derek and Stuart on the call tonight, 6:45, 7 o'clock, first pitch, game 2 of a 3-game set, Gamecocks and the Crimson Tide. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell, you're listening to the Postgame Show. All right, welcome back into the post-game show on this Friday. Thanks again to Stuart Lake for joining us. Braves and Phillies, no score, finally getting to opening day. Interesting story. Brian Snitker's family, not in Philadelphia. During spring training, Snit said some Phillies fans aren't the best. Said there was some bad behavior from them in the playoffs toward his wife and some others. Quote, "It's rough there, and they don't seem to mind it either, quite honestly. It was rough on them all last year to the point where it was concerning, them being his family members." Snitker said that Philadelphia had, quote, "by far the most hostile crowd," and that his wife would refuse to go back to a game in Citizens Bank Park. When he was asked to be more specific about what made him and them feel unsafe, he said, "I'm not going to get into all that. Let's talk about today. My wife's babysitting. The grandkids are in school. They wouldn't be anywhere, honestly, other than home." And went on to say it's a passionate fan base, a lot of energy, and a really good club. But Philly fans, he's not wrong. I'm not here to – I mean – Philadelphia has long had a reputation.
They did boo Santa Claus.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, too. While I don't doubt that something bad, or something, like rude happened with that, don't ever be the guy that said, "Oh, something really bad happened. I'm not going to tell you what it is. We're not going to get into it." Look, and then get mad when people start asking for details.
Right. Because
you brought it up.
Right.
Don't be that guy.
Well, it's and in a different kind of way. Like Kim Mulkey today, or yesterday at least, was asked further about her tirade the other day. I don't want to talk about that.
We probably shouldn't have brought it up then.
Or you shouldn't have. And now her players, and then she wants to say, "Well, don't ask my players about it." Well, I mean,
no, you're going to. Yeah, cat's out of the bag.
Yeah,
Kim.
you brought it up.
Kim, you know how many people would be asking your players about it if you didn't mention it?
That story,
zero.
Kent Babb's piece on her has not yet been published. And some people are trying to say, "Oh yeah, because she scared them."
No.
I'm gonna tell all of you. And if you do feel that way, and I doubt any of you really actually do, it's probably more LSU fans that are saying, "Yeah, because she scared them."
No one's scared of Kim Mulkey.
Well, and certainly not the Washington Post or Kent Babb.
If the Washington Post wasn't scared by Richard Nixon, they're not going to be scared by Kim Mulkey. Okay, let get real. All right, can we have a little bit of a moment of self-actualization, some clarity? If they were if they're willing to run the stuff they had on Richard Nixon in the 70s, they're not going to be scared of some college basketball coach. No, absolutely not.
They're not. It's kind of, you know what? I mean, there's part of me, man, that I don't feel bad for her.
I'll never feel bad.
But there's part of me that oh, isn't that precious? She thinks that by saying she's got great defamation lawyers that the Washington Post isn't going to run a story on her.
You know what's really funny? Or
they're going to go back and alter it to just be a fluff piece instead of what she calls a hit piece. Which, again, how does she know it's a hit piece?
It's because she knows she probably did something wrong back in the day.
But it hasn't. That's what I think you and I were talking off air the other day. Glenn Guilbeau was a longtime columnist in Baton Rouge, wrote for The Advocate for many years. He's now writing for Outkick.com, but he's still based in Baton Rouge, and he's not a Kim Mulkey fan. But he wrote a column the other day that basically suggested what I just said. Like, how does Kim even know it's bad? And it basically it was tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
But it was like this could be a report on what an amazing basketball coach she is. Which, again, we like to say and remind people, you know what? She's a fantastic basketball coach. Like, no one show me something at any point in time where anyone has ever said, she's not a good coach.
No one's ever said that.
I mean, if I'm not mistaken, she has 3 or 4 national titles.
She's got, I want to say 3. I think she had 2 at Baylor.
2 at Baylor and 1 at and last year?
Double check that, yeah.
But
Might
regardless,
have had 3 at Baylor.
I was thinking she had 3 at Baylor. But either way, either she has 3 national titles or 4 national titles. It isn't like she's a middling coach. There's a funny skit. Y'all need to go look it up. There's a funny skit from a few years ago on Saturday Night Live with Melissa McCarthy as like this just brutal awful, mean women's basketball coach. And I mean, it's over the top, right? It's so, I don't want to. I try not to make light of things too much, but remember the Rutgers men's coach that was like throwing the ball at his players and stuff, and he got fired and everything. So it was basically a take on that. But she's like driving a golf cart or a four-wheeler through practice on a basketball court, trying to get her players to get out of the way.
I think I've seen clips of that. I've seen it like GIFed before.
And she's like screaming at him and just throwing all kinds of stuff at him. And like in one, she's got a baseball bat and and I thought like this would be a funny thing on Kim Mulkey.
Oh, this would be hilarious.
But then the lady's like 2 and like 100 in her career or something. I was like, Kim Mulkey's actually a great coach. So why do people hate her so much? And it's like, well, maybe it's because she's just not a very nice person. I don't know. But we'll see. But that's out there. All right. Mike Waddell, what's going on as the ACC praises Clemson's Elite Eight trip? They're both suing each other, man. Our good friend Mike Waddell was in the courtroom last week. He'll tell us more. Be right back. Hey, if you're a homeowner looking to make home improvements, want to consolidate some debts, a home equity line of credit is a fantastic option in today's financial climate. And Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union ready to help you out. For more than 85 years, they've been serving all kinds of financial needs across the Midlands. They're local. They're not-for-profit. They can offer you lower rates than a lot of banks, lower closing costs and application fees. And listen, it's a 10-year draw. So it's like, say, maybe you got some young kids, and over time, they're going to get older. Their needs are going to change. And a bigger playroom, maybe you need a back porch or some more space. Well, you don't have to borrow one big lump sum and pay interest on that. Borrow as you need it based on your home's equity. And they'll manage the terms with you to make it more affordable than ever. Apply online today for this or any other things, credit cards, car loans, mortgage, whatever you got. PalmettoCitizens.org is the website, or any of their 14 convenient locations can help you out too. Palmetto Citizens, achieve your potential. Welcome back in. Second hour of the postgame show coming at you from downtown Columbia's Herndon Chevy Studios. I'm Jay Phillips. He's Elijah Campbell, fresh off winning the Quaker Steak and Lube Atomic Wing Challenge earlier today. We're very proud of Elijah. The Scoville units, more than 800,000 for the wings that he ate, at least the sauce that was on the wings. That's a lot. You know, that's a lot. He did it. A little sweaty. A little concerned at times, but otherwise he made it, and he's now waiting for his free T-shirt. You know, here's the thing. Terry's going to bring you back that T-shirt because you and I had to leave to get back here in time for the show.
Naturally.
But here's the thing. He's going to claim that he did it.
Ooh, see, yeah, he can. Because, I mean, no one can tell him differently because he would have the shirt. And
he'll just be going like, you know, when he goes and visits his buddies, he'll be all bragging.
Like, I won the Atomic.
And they're like, do it again, Terry. He's like, why would I do it again?
I already did it once.
I did it. You do it, loser.
See, that's the 4D chess game. But you know that I didn't sweat through both shirts that I'm wearing. My Pete Rose jersey, I didn't sweat through that to not get onto the wall of flame.
By the way, big of you to be wearing a Pete Rose jersey. He is a hero.
He is. He absolutely is. All-time hit leader.
If not a little disgraced.
I mean, who hasn't bet on themselves? You know what I'm saying? They tell you to bet on yourself all the time. You just took it a little literally. And I took a gamble today eating those atomic wings. Who knows what happens in the next 4 or 5 hours? I can't be held responsible.
Yeah, your challenge isn't over yet.
Yeah, we're in the fourth quarter. I'll say that.
Pulling for you.
Down the home stretch.
Pulling for you.
Thoughts and prayers.
Something like that.
Will be accepted.
Our good friend Mike Waddell, kind enough to join us again on this Friday afternoon to talk about things going on between the ACC, Clemson, Florida State, maybe other people. At some point, we may talk to Mike about the hottest wings he's ever eaten or what kind of challenges he had to do as an athletics director or associate AD across major college athletics. Happy holiday weekend. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, my friend. It is a beautiful day in the Queen City where I am today, and can't wait to turn on the game tonight and watch my man DJ Burns, product of the Palmetto State, and get that Rock Hill mojo going for the Wolfpack tonight, and then hopefully Duke will lose. So I can go for 1 for 2 tonight like the ACC did last night and be a very happy guy.
It's weird that as the conference celebrates Clemson's achievement, getting into the Elite Eight for the first time in 44 years, that they're suing each other. I can't think of a more odd dynamic that's at work right now.
You know, I was in the courtroom last week with Judge Lewis Bledsoe in the North Carolina Business Court for that Florida State ACC hearing. And it was a very telling scene because the ACC doesn't like Florida State, but they can at least be cordial to them. ESPN really doesn't like Florida State. I mean, it's bad. When the ESPN legal team is sitting there accusing Florida State of stealing information and using that verbiage, you know, it's hard to foresee a scenario to where any league that the Seminoles may end up would have any kind of massive engagement with ESPN because the mouse has a long memory, Jay.
Yeah.
And that'll be interesting. But, you know, the one thing I can say about the Clemson ACC thing is, and this is from everybody I talk to, Florida State went about it the wrong way. Clemson is kind of easing in. They're saying, okay, we just want clarification. What's it going to cost if we get out? And they're doing it in a nice way to where Florida State did not.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just there's a right way and a wrong way, and Graham Neff is a class act, and he's doing a great job. And I don't know anybody in the ACC that doesn't pull for Clemson. We think it's kind of ironic that in a basketball league that our football school is leading the charge and playing a football school out of the SEC. I mean, it used to be that Alabama and Clemson were football schools, but obviously that's changed.
Yeah, I mean, Bama's in there. Now they're going to the Elite Eight for the first time ever? Or second time ever.
Second time ever. 24.
Yeah, in 20 years. But like this is their third Sweet 16 in 4 years under Nate Oates, so he's obviously doing some big things. Let me say again to those who have not heard Mike on our airwaves before, he and I went to high school together, but Mike has been the athletics director at Towson up in Maryland. He's been associate AD amongst other places, Arkansas and Illinois, obviously in big conferences. He's worked in NASCAR. He's worked in pro sports as well. His background is diverse and very extensive. So with that knowledge in the courtroom last week, that's one of the things I wanted to talk about. And there is new information this week in terms of Florida State filing another complaint against the ACC. You just hit on one big tenet, and I kind of want your take on this, Mike, in terms of what happened in the courtroom. But there's just this belief, Florida State just wants to go to the SEC, and as soon as they're out of the ACC, that's what they'll do. And I keep saying, not so fast, and now you've sort of illustrated why it may not even be not at all.
Yeah, I just don't see it. Right now, ESPN and Florida State are at each other's throats, and that's not going to change. The whole thing surrounds the grant of rights, trade secrets that ESPN feels like they have. And it was interesting. I was sitting next to a Florida State media/attorney guy last week on the bench right behind the Florida State legal team. And, we would go back and forth, and we both had kind of similar opinions. There were both times where each side was scoring big points with Judge Bledsoe. There is no jury here. It's one guy. It's a judge who, yes, is a graduate of both Harvard and the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill undergrad. So, good luck with that. Even Florida State's legal team, the North Carolina attorneys that they hired, are University of North Carolina graduates. So it's just kind of interesting to watch how this all comes together. A lot of conspiracy theories rolling around from Tallahassee on that. But, there's no clear, gotcha moment in this, but you find it hard to believe some of the things that are being asserted by Florida State. We signed the document twice, and we took the money, but now we think that we can get a better deal. I mean, there's some really bad analogies I could make. I won't do it on Good Friday from the world of divorce. My dad was an attorney, so I love the legal aspect of it, but Florida State's making a crazy argument right here. They just don't want to pay the money. And really what they need to do is look at how the University of Maryland left the ACC in 2014. It was alleged then they were going to have to pay hundreds of millions of dollars. And they negotiated it down to 52. They settled at 34. And, because there was some money that had been withheld from the University of Maryland. But then also look at Maryland. Everybody thinks, hey, we got all this money, we're going to be really good. Well, who pretty much has the best budget in all of college sports, Jay? It's the University of Texas. Yeah. How often have they been real? They had a better year at football this year. Basketball, they're already out of the tournament. Money doesn't buy wins. And it's not going to with Florida State. When you can, and that's an opinion. My opinion is with Florida State, and I was involved in another discussion earlier this week, but they were saying, well, we have this great record against the SEC over the last 50 years. Well, that's because you're playing, in one-off games. You're not playing against that level of competition every week. Okay, you're playing against Duke and Georgia Tech and a watered-down Miami. Frankly, Duke and Wake Forest. The SEC has anybody else like that. They don't have like an overwhelming soft group. And there's this mindset that we're going to get all this money, we're going to be great. It's like, more power to you, brother. I don't see Florida State playing in a Northern League and all of a sudden usurping Ohio State and Michigan and soon to be Southern Cal. I mean, good luck with that. You're still going to be in the Peach Bowl, and you'll probably get your ass kicked like you did in the Orange Bowl this past year by the Dogs. So excuse me on that, But it's very frustrating to watch how all of this is just going to drag and drag and drag on, but it's going to. And there's not going to be a settlement. The ACC will dig in, but it's the moves behind the moves, as you and I would say in the radio world, the Paul Harvey. What's the rest of the story?
Right.
What's Clemson going to do? What's North Carolina going to do? What is Virginia going to do? Is North Carolina going to be able to move without NC State because of a recent ruling by the University of North Carolina Board of Governors that governs both schools, that one cannot leave without the other? And this politician group, will make a decision instead of the people on campuses. It's a different world right now. And, for North Carolina, their bread and butter has been basketball, and they're in the hardest drought right now that they've had since the Vietnam War was just getting started. North Carolina has gone now 7 years without an ACC tournament championship or an NCAA championship. And that's the longest stretch that they've gone without either one of those things, again, since 1966. So lots of machinations right now, Jay-Bird. It's a lot of fun to watch, and glad that I'm not on the inside.
I was going to say, see, this is why Mike has gotten back into media after nearly 30 years in administration. So
no doubt.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, and Mike, you mentioned how long this is going to drag out, and it's going to be drug out pretty painfully. But in the meantime, they still have to interact with each other, right? We're still in the midst of potentially 3 ACC teams in the Elite Eight, with one of those being the teams that's in a lawsuit with the conference. And then you have football season coming up again. I mean, we might get through 2 or 3 sports seasons before anything's actually settled. What's that awkwardness, do you think, between administrators in the league going to be like in this interim that we have in between, court hearings and ultimately a resolution?
Well, for the most part, people always they get along. I mean, they're going to fire up their base and they're going to say this and that. But at the end of the day, ADs, associate ADs, people on that level, school presidents, they're all very collegial. I mean, they're not alphas, okay? They're really not. Though sometimes they like to act like it. But it'll be tense at times, and I would fully expect that by the August deadline, I think it's August 15th, that Florida State has to give notice that this would be their final year in the ACC. I think their filing yesterday that they made in North Carolina would go to that end, that they'll give notice that this will be their final year, and that will speed up some of this stuff. You'll see a ruling from the North Carolina Business Court here within the next week to 10 days, if not sooner. It could come anytime. But there is a hearing in Tallahassee and Leon County, Florida, on April 11th. And the North Carolina court will rule before that. And, you might have some good things rolling right there. But none of these leagues, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, none of those leagues are going to touch Florida State until they have a clear and total resolution. And again, I just don't think it makes any business sense at all. If ESPN is a party to this lawsuit. They're suing Florida State right now to keep their trade secrets. And whether that's logical or not is for Judge Bledsoe and other legal scholars to put together. But I think you get my drift right there. Yeah. Last thing for you, I got about a minute left here. Tell us what is next. Again, you were in the courtroom last week, and there's at least something definitive that's supposed to be coming out of that hearing in terms of a ruling in the next couple of weeks, yes? Yes, definitely before April 11th, like I just said, you will have a ruling from the North Carolina Business Court that goes on the motion to dismiss from Florida State and several other elements right there related to the grant of rights and whether something can be sealed, namely the trade secrets of the ESPN. Those rulings will come down. There's a hearing on the 11th of April that Florida State filed in their home county court. So, it's a battle to see who's going to have home court advantage. Look, all the Florida State people think they're right. All the ACC people think they're right, and that's why it's in the courtroom. And it just gives us another chance to talk in a few weeks, Jeff. Yeah, I look forward to that because this is fascinating stuff. I'm glad you were in there, and certainly we'll be keeping an eye on it because Clemson is going to be directly involved here soon enough. He is Mike Waddell. You can follow him on Twitter, MW_Brentwood. Again, now part of the North Carolina Sports Network after many years in athletics administration. Good stuff, sir. Happy Easter to the family. We'll talk to you soon. Appreciate you. Thank you, friend.
You bet. That is Mike Waddell. All right, come back on the other side. Update you on Braves, Phillies, and on Oregon State, Notre Dame. Oregon State has a lead despite one glaring statistic against them. We'll give you some updates as the postgame show continues. Hey, those of you in the HVAC industry, you feel like you're amongst the best out there, but feeling a little undervalued right now in your current job? Well, you may need to look no further than AAA Heating and Air to pick things up. Roy and Dana Finley, not just offering you a job, they're offering you a career. Amazing benefits and compensation packages tailored to you. Think about this. You might prefer hourly pay or a salary or commission or maybe a combination of all three. You can get that done. Plus a company vehicle, company phone, company tablet, and fantastic perks like paid vacation, comprehensive insurance, 401k plan, and a whole lot more. If that sounds like something you're looking for in your career, then check out call AAAtoday.com or use the same number that folks use as customers, 803-677-1500, and tell them you're ready for a new start at AAA Heating and Air. Do what so many have done. Work with great people like Roy and Dana Finley. Take care of folks across the Midlands with AAA Heating and Air. Welcome back into the postgame show on this Friday. Columbia's a little quiet. Holiday weekend. Folks getting out. Spring break is next week, so maybe, at least for a lot of schools around here, around these parts. That's the elementary and middle and high schools. Carolina.
I was getting ready to say.
Yeah, Carolina spring break was like 2 weeks ago.
Not the post-secondary school.
Nope.
Spring break.
Nope. The youngins. So
they get 1 week or 2 weeks here.
One.
Interesting.
Did you get two?
Yeah, in Putnam County, Tennessee, they did a year-round school, which means our first day of school was always like July 25th.
Yeah.
Which was always really weird, and I hated that. But, getting 2 weeks for the spring and the fall ruled.
The Phillies, who hit it? Marsh. Just hit a 2-run shot in the bottom of the fifth. So Phillies broke a scoreless tie. 2-0. Philadelphia in the fifth. And, boy, Spencer Strider grooved a fastball.
Would be a real shame for Zach Wheeler to get this win for totally
Braves had a chance,
purposes.
Man. In the top of the fifth, Braves had 2 on, 1 out, and couldn't push one across.
They got Wheelered.
He almost hit Ronald Acuna, too, on purpose. I know he did. He was throwing right at him. Anyway.
Went from ducking to throwing at him.
Well, anyway. I'm trying to be objective here. I don't like the Phillies.
I have not. I couldn't tell.
The Notre Dame-Oregon State game is now tied at 57. I told you before the break that Oregon State had a lead. Oregon State, and they just turned it over again. I'll give you the number here in just a second. And Notre Dame does not take the lead on that one. 57 all, 446 left to go in the game. Oregon State is currently shooting 60.5% from the floor. That's why they're in this game, because they have turned the ball over 24 times to Notre Dame's 3.
Oh.
Yeah.
Not many instances do you turn the ball over 8 times more than your opponent, and you're tied with less than 5 minutes left.
And Notre Dame just tied it at the free throw line, and Notre Dame takes a 3 air ball, and Oregon State has the ball.
Someone opened a window in there.
About
Goodness
four and a half to play. But again, Oregon State is shooting better than 60% from the floor. But yeah, 24 turnovers to 3 for the Irish. Notre Dame, by the way, is shooting less than 36%. So Oregon State defense is killing it, but they cannot keep the ball.
As you were reading that off, they committed a 10-second violation. So that was turnover 25. Can we get to 30?
Probably at this rate.
That has to be the first.
And there's another stat. Points off turnovers for Notre Dame. 25 of their 57 are directly off turnovers to 4 off turnovers for Oregon State. And Notre Dame has just taken the lead. Again, this game is important because should South Carolina win, well, I'll just say it. Forget it that way. The winner of Carolina-Indiana gets this winner. So this game is the first of 4 today. But Oregon State, man, at some point you gotta buckle down and quit turning the daggone ball over.
See, the best part about shooting 60% is you could win a lot of games if you're able to just get shots off. But when you're turning it over almost 30 times,
think about it, man. If they had turned the ball over, let's say 15 times, like 5 times,
just
their opponent, they're winning by 12 or 14 points.
Yeah, this isn't a game.
Yeah.
This has to be. If they get to 30 turnovers and win this game, that has to be the first time in the history of the men's or women's tournament that a team would turn the ball over that many times. I'm not saying it is or it isn't. I'm hypothesizing here.
Right, I get you.
That has to be history. Has to be.
This is brutal. We'll see.
I'm actually kind of hoping that happens.
And they just missed 2 at the line. So Notre Dame has the ball up to under 4. Winner gets the winner of Carolina and Indiana. That Carolina-Indiana game will be game 2 of the day. Again, that one's coming at you shortly. And I'll remind you again about broadcasting around here. Tonight, 7:30 tip time from Portland, NC State, and Stanford. And then the nightcap from Portland will be Gonzaga and Texas. And that's an all-chalk regional out there. State and Stanford are the 3 and 2 respectively. Gonzaga the 4 to Texas is 1. I think of the 16 schools that made this round, only 3 did it on the road. I want to say it's 13 that hosted made it through. I believe that's right. I think Colorado,
Colorado's one. Duke, they had to win at Kansas State
and Kansas State. Yeah, those are the only 3 road teams if I'm not mistaken.
Colorado beat Kansas State.
Yeah, they beat
beat Kansas State, and that was
Colorado, Duke. Who did we say? I can't remember the other one now. Duke won in Columbus.
Yeah.
There is one other. There's one other 5 seed that made it, and I don't have it in front of me right this second, but I'll find it for you. Regardless, it's been a pretty chalk-heavy women's tournament.
Do you think the home
even
court
chalkier
advantage
than the men
has a lot to do with that?
Absolutely.
Because I want to say that if they go to a neutral court or neutral floor, you're going to see a lot more of the upsets. I have a feeling, if for the men on the men's side in 2018, if Virginia played UMBC in Charlottesville,
right.
I don't think we're talking about that type of history. If Purdue played, Fairleigh Dickinson last year in West Lafayette, Indiana, I don't think we're talking about that kind of history. I think a lot of the weird stuff happens when you get to true neutral floors. And I think that might be one of the reasons. I was listening to a good discussion about that.
I do believe that, yes, that's and I have 2 schools of thought. By the way, real quick, the other women's team that advanced off of the road was Baylor, who won up in Blacksburg.
Baylor.
Yeah. Listen, I've said a lot of times, and I know the men won't follow suit here, but I love the baseball model. And the baseball model, you play to host, and then you play for the supers. So, again, for all practical purposes, the Sweet 16 of baseball is also played on campus. Again, it wouldn't be that way in the women's tournament. But Coach Staley and many others have said this is one of the things. I think Indiana's head coach said it as well this week. This is one of the things that keeps a lot of schools engaged, is that you are playing for home court in the first 2 rounds, and 16 schools will get that opportunity. So do I believe that that's why so many home teams advance? Yes, absolutely I do. I agree with you. There would be more upsets perhaps, but I think that even though this sport, women's basketball, continues to grow at a rapid pace, it is not going to necessarily fill up a bunch of neutral gyms. You may still, now if you did it in places like Greenville, Charlotte, places that are nearer to big fan bases.
And you know who those teams are going to be going into the season.
Yeah,
I mean, the hubs.
So, with all due respect, and again, I'm not sure how Albany, New York was chosen. I'm really not. I'm not here to knock Albany. It's bigger than Columbia.
Capital city.
Yeah, it is. But, there's some capital cities that aren't so big. I mean, do not equate Albany with Manhattan or Brooklyn.
It ain't.
And so I'm not sure. And it's somewhat remote in a kind of relative sense, in terms of big airport or lots of traffic in and out or easy places to even pass through. Albany is like smack in the middle of the state of New York, and it's its own entity.
It's centralized.
Yeah. So I'm not really sure. They put a nice bid in, right? But I would, if I were women's basketball at this point, I am staying with the format I have right now until I see somewhere where there's going to be enough interest on a neutral floor for the entire tournament to sell a lot of tickets. Carolina sold like almost 30,000 tickets. That's a lot of tickets.
That's true.
It's a lot of tickets. Iowa sold like 30,000 tickets. That's a lot of tickets. So did LSU. That's a lot of tickets.
I think as a sport, you should aim to get to the point where you do get to neutral site for second round.
I think you should aim.
That ultimately makes your sport better.
Yeah, I think you should aim for it. John Whittle on the other side of the break. More on Carolina baseball. Get a few other things going on with John, and we'll keep you updated on the Oregon State Notre Dame game. You're listening to the Postgame Show.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell with a few accidents to report to you that might be causing some delays on the roadways this Friday afternoon. We're going to start with a couple of big ones in Lexington County. In West Columbia, an accident has the right lane completely blocked on I-26 eastbound over at Airport Boulevard near exit 113. And then in Swansea, an accident has the left lane completely blocked on I-26 westbound. That's before US 21 near exit 129. Here in Richland County, got a couple of accidents here with some more minor traffic backup. One on I-20 eastbound after Spears Creek Road near exit 82, and one on US 176. It's over near Broad River Road and Coon Road.
Going to talk a little more Carolina baseball with our good friend John Whittle. Remind you real quick, though, here, 69-63 Oregon State over Notre Dame in the Sweet 16. This winner will get the winner of Carolina and Indiana. 10 seconds left in this one. Oregon State trying to seal it at the line, but they're up 6 with 10 seconds left to play.
It's over.
It should pretty much be it, and Carolina and Indiana will start in roughly a half hour after this one. Always a good time when John Whittle is on the program, and yesterday, I don't know if John scolded me. Probably wasn't quite that strong.
I like that. John scolded you.
Well, he kind of did, and I deserved it.
Or gave you the he's not mad.
As I've said many times, the two people that know most about Carolina baseball, and really a lot of just college baseball in general in this town, are John Whittle and Mark Kingston. And sometimes their knowledge interchanges at a certain level. Both of them are not fans of me calling the NCAA baseball tournament the playoffs. But I can't help it sometimes, Mr. Whittle. But
it's gross.
I do appreciate that you are managing that part of my career.
No, it's fine. That one bothers me less than the August football practice period being called fall camp.
Oh, I hate that.
Like that bothers me a lot.
I hate that.
Because there's nothing fall about August in South Carolina.
Amen, brother.
It's 100 degrees. You're sweating out of everywhere, all over your body.
Yeah.
There's nothing fall about August.
Your sweat is sweating. At least for me, it is. Absolutely. No, I am absolutely 100% with you on that. I call it August camp. I was like, it's like August. Don't call it fall camp. That's what I like to say. But I do struggle with the play. Although, as I've said, the NFL playoffs are technically a tournament, so I feel like I'm okay. Regardless, John.
The NFL tournament.
Real fast here, 70-65 is the final. Oregon State advances to the Elite Eight. Again, they will get the winner of Carolina, Indiana, which is coming up shortly. Gamecock baseball loses last night, John. Blew a late lead, had an opportunity with a little offensive play. If LeCroy can get a bunt down, I kind of want to take you there because fans, why would you do that there if you can't get it down and you got to know it? They don't dial up plays like that without believing that a player can get it done, but. Otherwise, is there a lot to sweat about what happened last night?
I thought last night was really a missed opportunity for South Carolina in terms of the win and the loss. You have your ace going against, and who throws phenomenal, by the way, again, against, a freshman that, they've pulled up from the midweek because, guys are on short rest and they've got, a couple of pitching injuries and, you were ahead most of the game. You had all kinds of opportunities. These are the ones you kind of look back on at the end of the year and just say, golly, we shouldn't have lost that one. So, yeah, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, 1 out of 56 or 55 or 54 or whatever South Carolina ends up playing this year, I mean, it's not a huge deal, but it sure would be nice to have started out a road conference series with a victory in a game that you probably should have won.
We had Stuart Lake on a little bit earlier talking about it, and one thing he said he noticed was maybe a little body language, that he felt like maybe Carolina for some reason wasn't as just full throttle as they might have needed to be. Did you notice any of that?
It wasn't a clean game for South Carolina. It was really one of the more poorly played games all around, offensively, defensively, that they've played this year. It started in the bottom of the first inning when, Parker Nolan kind of played a ground ball to his side, when he was back out in the outfield and was charged with an error on that. I mean, there were just a lot of plays out there that really should have been made that just weren't. Thomas McCrory had one on on what should have been a double play ball that in the eighth inning that eventually allowed the go ahead to score. Those runners there allowed. I mean, the guy who probably should have been taken out at second base was obviously still on when that ball got through. Cole drops a pop up in foul territory. The miscommunication out in center field. I mean, that runner ended up coming around to score on Eli Jones in the fifth inning. I mean, there was just a lot of really poor plays, and only one was given an error. Nolan's ball in the first inning. There was a pitch or two that got by Cole that you usually see get by him. One allowed a run to score. The one in the fifth, sixth inning, right in there from Eli Jones. That was probably too difficult for Cole to block and keep in front of him. But the eventual winning run is one that you expect your American, plus defensive guy to keep in front of him. So, it was a really poor day all around, apart from Eli Jones, and that's what was disappointing about it is even though you played poorly, you still had an opportunity to win and just didn't get it done.
And then moving forward, John, I know when we had you on earlier in the week, you talked about Alabama having, a lot of pitchers that are high strikeout guys, and he struck out 10 times yesterday. And there's a lot of feast or famine here with the way, Alabama pitches. How do you kind of foresee these next two matchups ending out?
Well, I mean, Alabama does have they do have a couple of strikeout guys, but they're a lot of pitch to contact. They're kind of mid-pack in the SEC in terms of strikeouts, and they don't walk very many guys. They try to get you to put the ball in play, but Alabama they used three of their dudes yesterday in terms of bullpen guys, bullpen arms, but only one of those guys threw so many pitches that he won't be available again this weekend. So they're in a good spot. Garrett Gainey and Chris Veach both threw pitches to where they'll be able to bounce back as well. So. But yeah, I mean, they've got a high strikeout guy going today for sure. Alabama does, but he's also got a high ERA. So what that tells me is he's going to challenge you with his stuff, and you've got to put bat on ball. And we'll see if South Carolina does that well enough today or not. They have been doing that well enough for the past week and a half or so. But this guy's gonna challenge you.
Talking to John Whittle on the beat for the Big Spur. Carolina-Alabama game 2 tonight in Tuscaloosa. Gamecocks dropped one late last night by a final of 4-3. Dylan Eskew on the hill tonight. John, it wasn't bad against Vanderbilt. Wasn't great. Didn't give up a lot of runs, but maybe lost his control a little bit. How much of what you saw from him last week, has you concerned tonight, or how much do you shake off? Where's that middle ground for a guy that we know Mark and Matt like a lot?
Well, with Dylan, I mean, he's going to be a guy who gets ground balls. So, I mean, South Carolina's going to have to play better defensively back behind him than what they did last night. Eli Jones the same way. Both of those guys are kind of sinker ball guys and will get ground balls behind you. And those guys, for the most part, have done a decent job. So, I mean, they're going to have to clean things up a little bit tonight for Dylan if Dylan is going to be his typical self. Now, he has at times about the fourth or fifth inning, he started to throw a few more balls, not be able to control that two-seamer that's got so much movement and keep it in the zone as much and hit a few guys and walk a couple guys. South Carolina probably needs him to go a little bit deeper in the game than he has been. So, I think Dylan's stuff plays well enough to be able to get these guys out and to be able to – I think he can attack this Alabama lineup with what he has and what he does well. I think it's a fairly good matchup, but he's got to continue to command and have the defense play behind them.
Final thing for you, how nervous are you about Sunday's 11:30 kickoff at the Etihad between Arsenal and Manchester City?
Yeah, that's probably about an 11 on a 1 to 10 scale. So that's a huge concern to me right now. But I'm also looking forward to it. Those kind of matches are the ones that make sports fun.
Yeah, I'm with you. Should be a good one. Safe travels home. Good stuff as always, sir. We appreciate you. We'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys having me.
That is our good friend John Whittle. You can follow him on Twitter every day if you don't already. John M. Whittle is the way to do that. And the website is thebigspur.com. More on a recap of what's going on in the women's tournament, and we'll set you up for Carolina, Indiana as the postgame show continues. Welcome back into the postgame show. I'm laughing because I just looked at Elijah and I said, why do the Phillies have so many guys that need a haircut?
He says as he looks at his co-host, who is also
but your hair's not that long, and I mean it's long. You do have long hair.
It's pretty long.
It is.
Yeah, we're past the shoulders.
But it's not. But these guys, like this guy, I can't see his numbers, and it looks like he's like doesn't brush it, wash it, anything. It's like, dude, what do you know? But I don't really care. I'm manifesting just hate and things.
You're in
really,
Phillies hate mode.
Yeah, I am,
now,
especially right now. By the way, Austin Riley is the most underappreciated defensive third baseman in baseball. He made 2 fantastic plays in that last inning.
He's awesome.
Braves need to pick him up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's he needs to get his bat out there too. I think
the 2 starters are out of the game. So we'll see if the Braves can do it. And Sean Murphy just hurt himself. Gee whiz.
Oh boy, what an opening day. Happy opening day.
I think they're going to pull him. Yep, he's coming out of the game. Oh boy, at the plate. There's your slugging catcher. I don't even know who the Braves' backup catcher is.
I couldn't tell you either.
I should probably know that.
Sean Murphy played a lot of games last year. They wouldn't need to know.
Oh, well, it's Travis d'Arnaud. I keep thinking because Travis is, I was like, duh. Yeah. Okay, all right, never mind. They're good.
You could tell me
It's
Travis
fine.
d'Arnaud is playing for any National
Who's the
League
Braves'
team,
third catcher?
and I'm going to believe you.
Yeah, no, it's
matter who it
Travis.
is.
No, I knew that. I was not thinking for a second.
If you'd have called me and been like, Elijah, you know Travis d'Arnaud is playing for the
I was
Marlins,
not
I'd be like, wow, yeah, it sounds about right.
Yeah, he went straight to the clubhouse, man. So that's a bad sign.
Yeah, that ain't good.
Yeah.
Happy opening day.
But Travis d'Arnaud's fine. Yeah, he's actually very, very good. So that's fine. That's fine. Anyway, Braves are down in the top of the 7th. 1 on, nobody out. Travis d'Arnaud now takes over for Sean Murphy at the plate, a 1-2 count. Oregon State has advanced in the women's Sweet 16 first game of the day. Final score 70-65. They will now await the winner of Carolina, Indiana. That game will now tip, by the way, at 5:10. According to ESPN, it was originally scheduled for 5 o'clock. That's the schedule. But they usually, it's like 30 minutes after the conclusion of game 1.
Each time. So for a later game, if you see a time, it's add 30 minutes.
And I want to remind you all again, it will not be on our airwaves for those of you across the state that are part of the Gamecock Radio Network. Baseball will be the network broadcast here locally in Columbia. Brad will be on the call on our sister station, WOMG, 98.5 FM. 98.5. So if you want to listen to Elijah and me, we're going to be talking spring football next hour and drive around the SEC. But I totally get it if you switch over to 98.5 to listen to Carolina women's basketball in the Sweet 16.
And we'll give you updates, too. We won't keep you in the dark on that.
Yeah.
We got them on the studio.
That's right.
So
That's right. By the way, speaking of Elijah, he and Terry tomorrow will be at JT's Kia on Killian Road. They are giving away Elijah's car, it says here.
Oh, wow.
Oh, no, wait. It says JT will be giving away a car. Also, Elijah and Terry will have Gamecock baseball tickets. I read that wrong.
I'd rather them give me away than my car.
You drive a nice car.
I do like my car.
Yeah, you drive a nice car. Carolina baseball tomorrow at 1:45. So tomorrow, if you want to win a car, and
That's
listen,
not mine.
JT's isn't too far from Camden. You could go over to JT's. They give away a car, and then you could go over to the Cup.
That's right. And you can find my friend who is growing ghost peppers and Carolina Reapers in his garage. And see if you live to tell the tale like I did.
The Atlanta Braves have made it 2-1. So that's good. That's something.
How about that?
Yeah.
Having to cheer your team in a come-from-behind game on opening day, I can't relate.
Yeah. Oh, no, actually, he didn't. Oh, yeah, I thought he got around. Oh, dang it. All right, Braves have second and third, 1 out. Oh, I thought the way they were acting, I thought he scored. All right, never mind. No
Can't
score.
relate.
Dang it.
Reds won comfortably yesterday. Can't relate.
So real quick here, do we have time for this? Yes, we do. Coach Dawn Staley, cut 13, please, Elijah. Coach Dawn Staley on how her team feels going into the Sweet 16.
We got a pretty loose team. So you saw the beginning of practice, and they were pretty focused for about 30 minutes. And then they went into a mode of being really loose, but focused. I think they're probably more focused than they've ever been, but for a certain amount of time in practice. So I'm real thankful that the NCAA only gave us 60 minutes because I couldn't take any more than 60 minutes.
She's not kidding. That's the beauty of it. And she's just not
Dead serious.
kidding. Carolina, listen, look, Carolina is a heavy favorite. I think they're a 15-point favorite in this basketball game
Sounds
today.
about right.
Hey, the Braves just tied it at 2. Adam
about that?
Duvall with a double to left field brings in
Still
2.
got it.
2-2, top 7, 1 out. Man on second base.
Still got
I
it.
feel better for now.
For now. We'll see how the bullpen does.
We'll have some more from Coach Dawn during our headlines coming up in just a bit. Do want to remind you got a few minutes left, by the way. We had a fun poll question yesterday based on the opening day when grilling hot dogs. This is what we do around here. How do you like them cooked? A, warmed through. B, a little char. C, well done and smoky. More than 200 of you participated. Thank you. 74.2%. A little char. 20.5%. Well done and smoky. Just 5.2. Just want them warm through. That's like when you put it on the second rack of your grill. Like that warming rack that's on the. I have one of those on the top of my grill.
No grill marks.
I mean, you might have if it sits there long enough, but not really.
Yeah.
At Jay Phillips 107.5 if you want to vote. Headlines of the day, some Gamecock spring football notes, drive around the SEC, all in the final hour, plus Gamecock women's basketball updates. Be right back.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to report to you that are causing some delays on the roadways this afternoon. We'll go ahead and start off with a big one in Lexington County. Over near West Columbia, an accident has the left lane completely blocked. That's on I-26 eastbound right after the Augusta Road exit 111. So traffic moving really slowly there on 26 East near exit 111. We have a couple of accidents here in Richland County, one on Forum Drive at Marketplace, Common Circle, one on I-20 eastbound after Spears Creek Church Road near exit 82, and then one on I-20 westbound at Farrow Road near exit 72. Back to Lexington County in Swansea, an accident has been reported on I-26 westbound before US 21 and exit 129, so traffic moving mildly slowly through there, and then one on US 378 near Mineral Springs Road.
It is 5 o'clock news time on this Friday. Welcome back in. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell, also the final hour of the postgame show. Appreciate you being with us. We will start with South Carolina women's basketball. Dawn Staley and the Gamecocks tipping off in just a little bit against Indiana. They already now know, do those two teams, who they would face in the Elite Eight, as Oregon State has beaten Notre Dame. The final score, 70-65. This despite the fact that Oregon State turned the ball over, hear me out here, 26 times to Notre Dame's 5.
Disgusting.
That said, Oregon State shot 60.4% from the floor, 29 of 48, including 43% from three. Notre Dame was held to just 35.6% shooting and made just 4 of 16 three-point opportunities. But 26 turnovers forced by Notre Dame, and I think they got around 20-something points off of those. So
at least 25.
Yeah. Anyway, didn't matter. Oregon State moves on. Carolina and Indiana coming up. Got a few things to get to here from Coach Dawn Staley. Let's go to cut 14, please, Elijah. This is Dawn. Y'all think back to Sunday afternoon against North Carolina, where South Carolina was just shot out of a cannon, and North Carolina really didn't know what hit them. This is Coach Dawn on why starting fast is crucial.
We've had some slow starts. I think with this particular, I think we've started out quick, and then somewhere in the middle of the season, people have jumped out on us, and then we haven't responded well until later on in the game. But I think now, I just think we're playing our best basketball. Like I questioned it going into the SEC tournament, and then during the SEC tournament, we weren't just clicking on both sides of the basketball. There were spurts of it, but when we had a little bit of time to practice between the SEC tournament championship and then our first round, we did a lot of rest. But then when we got back from our break, we just really honed in. They were probably, they probably thought I was a little tight, they would say. And it's not that I was tight, it was more so that I know what's coming down the pipeline. And they just have a way of making me feel uncomfortable. And so, I'm a look, sound, feel coach. If something looks, sounds, or feel off, then I'm gonna address it and put whatever prep we need to, whatever challenges we need to put in front of them, they have to meet those challenges. And I thought they really did a good job of meeting the challenges leading up to the first and second round. And
Good stuff from Coach Dawn. And again, 56-19, the halftime score against North Carolina. You'd obviously like to replicate as much of that as humanly possible. There's duh, right? But that's what you're really trying to look for at this point in time is a way to just as quickly as you can, deflate your opponent. I think that's one thing to really look at. Continuing with our integrated media headlines of the day. And Elijah, give me, if you would please, sir, cut number 20 on our list. This is Coach Terry Morin of Indiana on how she hopes to slow what South Carolina likes to do.
I think it's both. I think you have to string together stops, but I also think you have to score. We're not unlike any team in the country that really feeds, our offense feeds us defensively. And so when we can put points on the board, that helps us, on the defensive side with our, not just our intensity, but I think, the connectedness that you have to play with in order to guard a team like South Carolina that has so many threats, on the outside. So I do think you got to string together some stops, but you certainly got to put points on the board too, or he can get away from you really quick.
Again, South Carolina, a pretty heavy favorite in this basketball game. It tips off in just a little bit. And for those of you listening to us here in Columbia on 107.5 The Game, it will be on 98.5 FM. Carolina baseball will be across the statewide network later tonight. So here locally, 98.5 FM, and tip-off is coming your way inside of 10 minutes with our good friend Brad Muller on the call. One more from Coach Dawn, if you would, please, Elijah. Cut number 17 on our list. This is, listen, everybody knows. Yeah, look, even Andrea Carter of ESPN said of both tournaments, on the men's side, it's the Connecticut Invitational. And on the women's side, it's the South Carolina Invitational, which means you're expected to win the whole thing. Here's Coach Dawn on the importance of staying focused.
They have zero idea. They have short memories. I mean, they only deal in the present, which is pretty cool. Like, you don't have to talk them off of a ledge because they're thinking it's going to be an easy thing. They take one game at a time. I probably I would say this, during the time between the SEC tournament championship and that prep time, I thought we were a little loose, and we thought it was going to be easy moving forward. And my energy spoke to, we got to keep the main thing, and the main thing right now is our next opponent. We didn't know who our opponent was at that time, and then we had to do media for the first round. And I did hear our players talk about some stuff I've never heard them talk about that's in the future. And I'm like, no, we have to talk about Presbyterian. That is the only team that matters at this point. Like right now, Indiana is the only team that matters at this point because the margin of victory is so small at this stage of the game. So, and this team really doesn't know that. I mean, they know it from playing in the SEC and coming to some near losses, but they don't know it on this scale in the NCAA tournament. So I just want to keep them focused on what's right in front of us.
It's Coach Dawn Staley. Again, tip-off coming your way soon. South Carolina, by the way, is now up on the Vegas lines to a 17.5-point favorite, and I will now be incorporating the EBPI into the discussion. The BPI on the four-letter network website, 83.9% in favor of South Carolina. The EBPI says...
We'll have a little rounder of a number. We'll go 90.
Okay.
I think if these teams play 10 times, I think South Carolina wins 9 of them. The only roadmap for Indiana to win is for them to be able to launch from the outside and hit them at a sustainable rate. As well as they shoot, they're the best three-point shooting team in the country. South Carolina can shoot with them, and also you got to be able to do it against that defense who is really good at applying ball pressure, really good at forcing turnovers, and really good at making you do a lot of things that you're uncomfortable doing. I just don't foresee Indiana handling the ball pressure well enough to get quality looks. While they'll still make some tough shots, I don't think they're going to be able to do so in enough volume to be able to score with South Carolina. So right. I'll put it about 90%.
All right. Again, ball game coming up shortly. Again, here in Columbia, 98.5 FM. If you want to listen to Brad while you're in the car, we'll be talking some spring football and certainly keeping you updated on what's going on with Carolina. And again, Carolina baseball tonight here on 107.5 in Columbia and across the Gamecock Radio Network. That game will start at 6:45 with a 7 o'clock first pitch. Carolina falling last night in Tuscaloosa by a final of 4-3. Had it late, had an opportunity even to pad the game with a nice opportunity with a runner on third, but Talmadge LeCroy trying to lay down a little squeeze bunt and popped it up instead, and that kind of ended the inning, and Alabama held on for the win. Carolina put another runner on base in the ninth inning but could not get him across. So they go to 20-6, 4-3 in conference play. Bama also 20-6. They are now 3-4 in the SEC. Tonight's pitching matchup is Dylan Eskew, 2-2 on the year with a 3.81, 26 innings pitched, 8 walks, 20 strikeouts. Ben Hess, also a junior righty. He's 3-1, a 5.11 ERA, 24 2/3, 12 walks, 40 strikeouts. So a strikeout pitcher tonight, definitely going for Alabama. How does he challenge the Gamecock lineup? And we've talked baseball today with both Stuart Lake and John Whittle. Stuart first, who said to us, Elijah, he didn't really think the Gamecocks maybe ever hit full throttle last night. And John echoing that, but in different language, saying he really felt like South Carolina never really got fully into the game. So both basically saying the same things. John said it wasn't the cleanest game that Carolina played, that maybe they just weren't, you can look at it a lot of different ways, but while not lamenting it too much, John said that's one that you're going to look back on if it matters and say you should have won that game.
Well, you're going to be kicking yourself a little bit too. And he mentioned kind of the pitching situation for Alabama because they had some midweek pitchers to be able to throw in that game, and just because of how their week has gone. And that was one they could have won. If you look at not just like the one error that they actually got called for or got counted on. There were the plays they didn't make that they probably should have. And, we're going to look at that game, and the LeCroy bunt attempt is going to be one of the headliners in terms of that's a play you probably should be able to make, and you just weren't able to make it. So whether it be the lapses in the field and the lapses on the little things of the game, like bunting and moving runners over, that's one where if you do fall out of favor, whether it be in the SEC, title race or whatever it is, seeding, and it's by a game or so, that's going to be one that you're looking at amongst others. Kind of the same way we did, with the men's basketball team with the LSU and Georgia losses. You look at the very end of the year, you're in a 3-way tie, or a 4-way tie rather, for second place, and you're the odd team out, and you look at, 2 games in particular that were very winnable that you weren't able to close, and ultimately that's the one you end up kicking yourself over. You're hoping, if you're South Carolina, that you're able to take, maybe these next 2 to the point where you're able to steal a series on the road and this one not bother you too much once we get to the end of the season.
Men's Sweet 16 started last night, of course. Connecticut all over San Diego State, 82-52. Illinois with a strong performance last night from Terrence Shannon, 29 points. Big one for him. And the Illini edge Iowa State 72-69. Curtis Jones went for 26 for the Cyclones. That was a good game. I watched some of it. I'll be honest with you. I watched some of it. I watched as much as I could. Somewhere along the way,
I was going to say, I was late.
Finally gave out. Alabama edges North Carolina. North Carolina, you talk about like Carolina, the Gamecocks losing a baseball game they didn't need to lose. North Carolina didn't need to lose that game last night. They had a path to victory, didn't get it done. Grant Nelson, though, was on fire. That kid...
Best game of in his Alabama career, his one-year Alabama career.
Wow. Maybe the best game of his life. Armando Bacot scored 19 for North Carolina. R.J. Davis didn't have it. And Clemson, congratulations to Brad Brownell and his Tigers. P.J. Hall was good. Chase Hunter scored 18 for Clemson last night, and they edged Arizona 77-72. Again, Arizona had a couple of moments late where they could have made some things happen, and it just didn't go for them. Clemson is playing tremendous basketball, and now one of Clemson or Alabama football schools will be in the Final Four.
Which is very odd. You want to know the wildest stat in terms of Clemson's run to the Elite Eight? I know this might sound like I'm a hater, but I'm not. I'm pointing out a stat here. You want to know their opponent's three-point shooting percentage in these last 3 games?
Opponent three-point shooting percentage. 50?
18.
Oh, bad.
Their opponents are shooting 18% from 3. And they played 2 of the better three-point shooting teams. Baylor was number 1.
Yeah.
in the country when they played them, and they held them to like 22%.
Oof.
So a lot of it is they are playing solid perimeter defense.
Yeah, they're playing well.
There has been some really tough rims for some of the teams they've played, but they haven't let it bother them. They've been in really competitive games, and PJ Hall does what PJ Hall does, but Chase Hunter really is the name that, if you want to know the big difference between Clemson early in the season and now, like Chase Hunter will have some good scoring games, but he has more 20-point games in this NCAA tournament than he had all in the regular season.
Right.
That should tell you something.
Tonight, in order of start time, NC State and Marquette, Gonzaga and Purdue. Duke will play Houston. Creighton will play Tennessee. The winners on to the Elite Eight. That's our Integrated Media headlines of the day. Call Integrated Media for all of your home theater needs, video doorbell installation, home security, and so much more. They're awesome at what they do. 803-948-8327. Some spring football coming for you. And if you want to go to see Carolina play A&M in baseball next week on Sunday, call us right now, 803-404-6100. Elijah's going to hook you up with a couple of pair of tickets. Callers 4 and 5. Be right back. 20 minutes after 5 o'clock on this Friday. Happy Good Friday and happy Easter weekend to all, wherever you might be. Appreciate you tuning in with us. Carolina and Indiana have gotten underway in the Women's Sweet 16 from Albany. South Carolina leads 10-9. About halfway through the first quarter. Again, here in Columbia only. That game is on 98.5 FM. Gamecock baseball will be on the network beginning at 6:45 tonight. Carolina and Alabama in Game 2. Speaking of competition, congratulations to our own Elijah Campbell. He won the Quaker Steak and Lube. They call it the Atomic Wing Challenge. Is that what it's called?
The Atomic Wing Challenge, yes.
He ate 5 wings today, coated in buffalo sauce that had Scoville units above 800,000.
Yep. Dangerously hot.
And you wolfed right through them. You did have good for you. You had your blue cheese and milk on hand.
That was necessary.
Yeah, crucial.
Yeah, it was needed.
Crucial.
I highly advise if you're going to partake in such events.
Well, I do remind people
ready.
when you're eating spicy food, especially like the really spicy stuff, water is not your friend. It's cold.
It's deceptive.
Yeah, but the oils in the hot spicy food, they just basically swirl around on top of the water, and they just sit there, and then it's worse.
It spreads.
They get absorbed into the dairy. That's one reason. I guess a lot of you know this, but if you don't, that's one reason that blue cheese, ranch, whatever, are often served with hot wings because of the dairy, because the dairy absorbs it.
And if you've ever watched the show Hot Ones, really good interview show. They have a glass of milk at the table at all times because they do increasingly get to sauces that are akin to what I ate today.
You did well, man. I do like hot.
A lot of sweating.
I like spicy. I do. But today I was not going to do that. I did have some, I guess, medium-ish. They had some kind of, they call it like smoky jalapeno sauce. It was good.
See, they did have really good wings. Even the ones that I ate that were the atomic sauce that is meant to make you cower in fear.
Which you did not.
To hurt you. Yeah, I actually thought after wing 3, I was like, this actually has a really good flavor to it. I can still taste these wings, and it's got a good flavor to it. It's just really, really hot. I started sweating a lot afterwards. My eyes started watering, but I kept my hands after I got eating away from my face enough to where I didn't contaminate the rest of my body.
Well, you didn't you didn't fall over. We were down at, those of you who go to Carolina football a lot and maybe take the interstate home down there by Heathwood at the south end of Bluff Road. It's the big Quaker Steak and Lube and Petro and Beltline Lanes is the bowl. There's what, 12? Was it 12 lanes across maybe?
Looked like it, yeah. I mean that.
And they got like a big arcade like you might see at Frankie's or something. The biggest Pac-Man game I've ever seen in my life. If there's a bigger Pac-Man, and there probably is somewhere, but if there's a bigger one, I'd like to see it because this thing was you're tall, but that thing was taller than you.
Yeah, it looked taller than me. I walked by it, and I was intimidated by it.
Yeah.
It was a big Pac-Man machine.
Again, if you've never seen Elijah's, I say he's 8 feet tall. He's not. He's like
more like
7.
9.
He's like 7'8".
Yeah, think Zach Eady.
Right. You are what? You're 6'5", right?
4. Yeah, I think 4 is probably 4 is probably a more accurate estimate. But if I stand in some really tall shoes, I can be closer to 7 foot.
There you go. But congratulations. Did Terry bring you your T-shirt?
I don't think I ever got the T-shirt.
Oh man.
Which means I'm just gonna have to go back and be like, hey, you remember me? And then I'll have the video because there's video evidence that I did this. There was sweat equity put into it. I'll get my shirt one way or another, and I will have a picture on the.
Oh, I'll vouch for you, man.
The wall of flame.
You did it.
Yeah,
you did it.
So I need that T-shirt. They took my size, so they're cognizant that I accomplished this feat.
No, I saw you. I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
And again, I used to eat a lot of hot wings, but I just don't eat them as much anymore.
That was fun. That's the first time I've ever did anything like that.
Yeah.
So
and then you and I bowled a game, so that was good.
Exactly.
So we appreciate the folks at Quaker Steak. We appreciate the folks, and it is Quaker Steak. You heard me right.
That's right.
Quaker Steak and Lube. They got steak and ribs and wings. It's good food. It was had a good time, man.
I liked it.
And then we bowled, and then we came back to work instead of having a pitcher of beer or 3.
That's right, because that would have been very doable.
Which was
after all those
it was tempting. The bar was right behind us, and I was kind of ready for that.
The night's still young.
In the meantime, Gamecock spring football, they got the weekend off for the holiday, but Coach Mike Furry, Carolina's new wide receivers coach, longtime NFL wide receiver himself, Cut 2 on our list, please, sir. This is Coach Furry on how he is getting the guys to buy into what he is going to be teaching them.
Well, I think the biggest thing is coming into that room and not demanding what I want out of that room right away, not trying to build up to that moment. We ain't got time for that, and I think the biggest thing is coming in and setting those standards that we want, what type of players that we want to become, how we want to help this football team. And this is how we're going to do it, and we're going to start now. And we're going to have to grow up fast. And I think that's been the best part about all of it is the guys have responded to that really, really well, whether it's the meeting rooms, whether it's just questions or text messages. The communication has been phenomenal. I've seen it very quickly that there's a big care factor and an understanding of our guys that they do need to learn a lot about football, not just how to play the game, but also the football IQ, right? That helps you stay around the game, and those things have been great so far.
And listen, he's got a proven track record. He's done it at a high. This is the guy who was an undrafted free agent out of college and stayed in the NFL for nearly a decade. Cut 6. Do I have time for that? Yeah, I do. Cut 6, please. Speaking of long time in the NFL, Dow Loggins certainly has a lot of that. How is Mike Furry blending with what Dowell is doing from an offensive perspective?
Receiver coaching.
Yeah, it's funny because. I've been around a lot of offenses in my life, and as a player and as a coach. And I think what I wanted to be able to do was come in here and not just really ask Dow about what he's installing, but more just kind of see it on my own, and then see through the first couple of days when I was here in regards to just some of the OTAs and whatnot, where I could just see how he coaches, what he's demanding, and then also continue to learn his offense, right? And as I have gone through probably those first 3 or 4 days and seen how he's coached, see how he installs, and then start realizing the type of offense that we run here. The offense is very similar to something I've been through in my career, and I'm pretty excited about that. And so it's helped that transition to understand how he wants it done. I have a really good feel about where our guys are supposed to be, why we're running those concepts or why we're running those plays, how you're supposed to get there. And I think it's been very smooth since the start, and I'm very excited about his offense.
Gamecock wide receiver coach Mike Furry speaking as spring drills continue again. Carolina will be off this weekend, back at it starting on Monday. Spring game is 3 weeks from tomorrow. Come back on the other side of the break. We'll start our drive around the SEC, the rest of what's going on in the baseball weekend, and certainly updates from what's going on in Albany as Carolina takes on Indiana. That game in the first quarter, and the Braves are at opening day in Philadelphia. Update you on that one, too. You are listening to the Postgame Show. Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union are ready to help homeowners out who are looking for a refresh. Maybe you love your house and you've been in it a while. You got a good mortgage, but it's time to update that kitchen. The family's growing. The kids need a playroom. They need to update their bedrooms from something more nursery-like to, big kid. Or you need a space for yourself. Whatever your home might need, take advantage of the great rates and opportunities with Palmetto Citizens opportunity right now for a terrific home equity line of credit. When you unlock your home's equity, you can easily access your line of credit over a 10-year draw. Don't have to get one big lump sum and then keep paying interest on that and hope to need to use it. Nah. As you need it, you can borrow from it. And again, over 10 years, that assists you with your needs and goals over that period of time. Apply for this and any other loan today, palmettocitizens.org. You can also visit any of their 14 convenient Midlands locations to learn more. My wife and I are customers. You'll love them. Palmetto Citizens, achieve your potential.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to report to you that are causing some delays on the roadways this afternoon. We'll start here in Richland County. Accidents on Clemson Road at Summit Parkway, at Forum Drive at Marketplace Common Circle, I-20 eastbound after Spears Creek Church Road, exit 82, and I-20 westbound at Farrow Road near exit 72 are all causing some minor delays. And then Lexington County, an accident in front of the Shell station at Child Street, which is over near Highway 60, is causing some traffic backup over there in Lexington County. And in Swansea, an accident on I-26 westbound before US 21 at exit 129 is causing some delay.
It is Drive Around the SEC time. Welcome back in. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell with you on this Friday afternoon. Just a couple of days left in March 2024. See who can prank whom the best on Monday when we get back in here.
That's right. I gotta concoct something. I've had some doozies in my day.
Yeah, I tried one once. I'll tell the story on Monday. I'll save it for Monday. But I tried one once. It worked for about a minute or two.
When it's topical.
Yeah. Way back in the day on my first talk show, not on this station.
Oh.
Yep, way back. Again, it worked for a minute.
See, my favorite thing was I did one, where I got to where I was producing, and every morning I had to, do the liners and all that kind of stuff, and our host would read everything verbatim.
Right.
He was Ron Burgundy. If it's on the script, he's reading it. And the Nashville Sounds were promoting their opening day game against the Gwinnett Stripers. Well, I just went in on Microsoft Word and added an extra P to it to where it would read the Gwinnett Strippers. And on April Fool's Day, he read that on air. And it was the funniest thing I think I've ever done. That was one of my favorite fast ones I think I've ever pulled in this industry.
Well done, sir.
I won't top that. I don't think I can.
Well done. Before we get into SEC baseball, let me tell you what's going on in Major League Baseball. The Atlanta Braves at the Philadelphia Phillies, and Atlanta has now blown it open. Matt Olson just hit a bases-loaded double down the right field line, cleared them off. Atlanta now leads Philadelphia 9-2 in the top of the eighth. So there are still 6 outs to get, 2 outs. And Matt is obviously on second base after that double. Marcell Ozuna at the plate. Meanwhile, the first quarter is done at the Sweet 16. South Carolina up on Indiana 26-15. A game that's been a little ugly at times. Both teams trying to feel their way through. Indiana's a good basketball team. Right now, let me get the updated stats for you. Indiana just 5 of 19 from the floor. Carolina has forced 4 turnovers. Carolina, meanwhile, 9 of 19 from the floor. They have also committed 4 turnovers. Carolina has assisted on 5 of their buckets, and Indiana on 3 right now. Bree Hall, I think, leads the way for Carolina. Yeah, she has 6. Camilla has 5.
They're knocking down those jumpers.
Yeah. And so far, Dawn has already had 4 girls come off the bench. So, I mean, this is exactly the MO that Carolina would like, and they lead by 11 as the second period gets underway. Oregon State has defeated Notre Dame, so the winner of this game gets the Beavers on Sunday for the right to go to the Final Four.
Biggest stat so far, Mackenzie Holmes, the 20-point per game scorer, who is the leading scorer in the Big Ten, not named Caitlin Clark, has picked up 2 fouls in the first quarter. So her foul situation will be one to keep a close eye on as the game continues.
Also, take it as you will, Indiana has brought just 1 player off the bench so far.
Yeah, they ain't got it like that.
Right.
They ain't got depth like that.
Malaysia Fulwiley at the line right now as second quarter gets underway. Again, 26-15 for South Carolina. All right, SEC-wise, let's get into what happened in baseball for you last night. Again, South Carolina falling to Alabama. The final score, 4-3. Carolina had a late lead, let it get away. Dylan Eskew on the hill tonight for the Gamecocks. The other scores from last night, Arkansas beats LSU 7-4. LSU is off to a 2-5 start in conference play after losing their series at home to Florida. They've got 20 wins, and they'll be fine. But, fine at LSU means hosting in the Supers. That's kind of what their MO is. A&M beats Auburn 9-7. Vandy in a game that I thought Vandy might run away with just because Missouri's not good.
No,
Missouri is not good.
Cellar dwellers.
They are. That they have a conference win is nice, but they're 10-16 overall. But Vandy wins that one 3-1. And again, Carolina losing to Alabama last night 4-3. Bama scoring twice in the 7th and one in the 8th to come away with that one. Gamecocks had chances in the 8th and 9th, could not bring the runners across. Tonight, Georgia and Tennessee will get their series underway. Florida and Mississippi State have already started in the third inning. State leads UF 2-0. Also tonight, Ole Miss and Kentucky get their series underway in Oxford. And we gave you the other ones there. Vandy hosting Missouri, A&M hosting Auburn. So there's your action across the South. Did I forget one?
Good slate.
I feel like I'm forgetting one somewhere. Did I say Tennessee and Georgia? Yeah, I did. Okay.
Yeah, they start their series.
They start their series tonight. Yeah, there you go. All right, so that's what's going on across SEC baseball. We just heard a little bit ago from Coach Mike Furry, Carolina's new wide receiver coach, now Torian Gray, also speaking to the media today, and a lot of depth right now at the backside of that defense, including at corner. And here's Coach Torian, cut number 7, please, Elijah. The battle right now that he's looking for to try and get this depth chart situated.
Been a great spring thus far. I've been impressed with the competition. It's been a while since we've had this type of competition at a particular spot, meaning competition in depth at the same time. So I'm excited about Judge Collier and his progress. I'm excited about Vakari Swain, Emory Floyd. Those guys are growing up in front of our eyes and showing a different level of maturity. Now, are we there? Far from there, but, we got talented guys, and then adding the addition of David Spalding, who played nickel and safety for us the last couple of years. We moved him to corner also, so now we got a veteran presence, a guy who's going to push those other guys and make them better, and it makes us better as a corner group. So OD's been solid and consistent. I know what we got with OD. We got a whole body of work to see from OD, but it's really exciting to know that one of those guys are going to step up, and a couple of those guys are going to step up, and we'll be pretty good.
Yeah, Donna Fortune is somebody they're looking forward to hearing from and seeing a lot more out of. Yesterday, we let you hear from Nick Emanwari, the Columbia product, talked a lot about what he learned about himself and the defense from last year. Here's Coach Gray on what he's working on primarily with Nick.
Well, you try to keep it in perspective. We had a pretty good freshman year, but there were some inconsistencies in there. There were some inconsistencies for a good part of last season. So the last, I thought, 5 games were pretty consistent for Nick. So how can we just be here the whole season, not have the ups and downs? So that's the goal from that standpoint, and, just keep hammering the button of being consistent, just being here day in and day out, be that kind of flat line type thing. It's the message to Nick. It's the message to the group, in a sense. And, don't be up and down. Let's just, boom, be right here all the time.
And finally, from Coach Torian Gray, again, a lot of depth, which is what Coach Beamer has really been wanting and talking about, is what do we do to get more and more quality depth. So you try and figure those things out. Here's Coach Torian Gray on the overall goal for his defensive backs this spring.
Never thought of it. Honestly, I guess maybe as a coach I should have thought of that. But really, if I just stick with, we want to be here, this is all I just stay with them. Just be here. If we can just be consistent and be flatline and not be that up and down. So that's really what I want to achieve finishing spring ball. And so far through 5 practices, there was a play today I was not pleased with, but that's out of 112 plays. One play that really sticks out of my head. So, we are through these 5 practices at this point have been kind of a flat line. So, that's kind of the message, to continue to do that. And if we can finish 15 practices or with the spring game being, 15 of those with that, I'll be proud of this group.
Third of the way through and, learning a little bit about it, but a lot of new faces. That's the nature of college athletics in this day and age. Good stuff from the Gamecock coaches. And, again, they're off this weekend, getting back at it next week. 34-25, 6:07 to play, second quarter. South Carolina leads Indiana. Feels like Indiana in the last little bit has attempted to adjust their defensive strategy just a bit to try to frustrate Carolina, not getting as many ball movement, not as much ball movement, Elijah, around that perimeter. And Dawn really wants it to go inside, which it is right now. But Indiana's going to make some shots. They can shoot, like you said earlier.
Yep. They are the number 1 3-point shooting team in college basketball, and they have just knocked down a couple here in the last little bit that have kept it from getting ugly. It was at one point, a 13-point game after a Sanaya Fagan and one, and now they've hit a few threes here. Now it's cut to 9. And they're shooting a 3 right now, and that rattles home. Okay. So, they're not going to go away quietly. They've got enough shooters on that team to where if you're not careful, they can shoot themselves back into it.
And we've seen Carolina have big leads in a couple of games in the last month or so and let them slip away from them. They haven't lost yet, but there is a book out there on South Carolina at this point in time, and Indiana knows what's up. They know what's in front of them. 34-28, 5.5 to play. Second quarter, winner to the Elite Eight against Oregon State. Well, that is, by the way, our drive around the SEC brought to you by Herndon Chevy, your hometown Chevy dealer. Stop by the showroom. See why Herndon makes you smile. More updates from Albany, from Philadelphia, and we'll wrap up our hot dog poll question. See what you're doing this weekend as the postgame show continues. 11 minutes in front of 6 o'clock on this Friday afternoon. Welcome back in. South Carolina leads Indiana 36-28, about halfway through the second quarter in the Sweet 16. Do want to remind you, of course, this game here in Columbia is on our sister station, 98.5 FM. Gamecock baseball will be on the Gamecock radio network tonight starting at 6:45, hence the switch. And Gamecock women's basketball, just for those that don't know, only airs in Columbia, typically on 107.5 The Game, where we originate from. It is not part of the overall South Carolina network. That's a whole other story for another day. But Gamecock women's basketball only originates in Columbia. You can get it on the app, but here over air. And a few of you have called in and asked, and we get it. We've been saying that all day for you. 98.5 FM. If you'd like to switch over and listen to Brad, we totally understand, and you will not be hurting our feelings. Not one bit.
Nope, not at all.
Not one bit.
Get it.
But again, Carolina up by 8, 36-28. And, of course, we are part of a statewide network of talk radio, and some of you do not air the Gamecock radio network. So we're still here with you. And there you go. Chloe Kitts just hit a 2, and she's going to the line. Yeah?
Yeah, the traditional three-point play.
There you go. Yeah, the old-fashioned kind.
That's right. They'll put him up 3.
Old-fashioned basketball.
They'll put him up 11, actually.
If she makes it.
If she makes it.
Yeah. Man,
she got hit right in the face.
She did, man. She got fouled like 3 times on that one. I think they should let her shoot 3 times.
That'd be,
that pretty much was 3 fouls.
If you can call 3 separate fouls, right. They don't negate each other out.
She got fouled 3 times.
Sunk the free throw, too. She's got 5 and 3.
Oh, man. That's kind of rough, man.
That was, she faced about 5 different arms, 3 of which hit her in the face specifically.
I was like, man. And in slow-mo, it looked a lot worse, didn't it?
Everything looks worse in slow-mo. When you can see someone's hand make a dent in someone's face or their nose, that's when, you're like, oh, okay, yeah. You watch games all the time, like you're like, oh, that couldn't have hurt that bad,
right?
And then you see the slow mo of like the hand on the bridge of the nose. You're like, yeah, actually, that wouldn't feel good.
I always like big fat guy getting hit with a cannonball in slow mo. You seen that one from the old days?
Oh yeah, the old days of slow motion.
Yeah, there you go.
The early days of it. I guess.
39-28, 3:47 to play. Carolina over Indiana. The Atlanta Braves lead the Philadelphia Phillies 9-2 on what is officially opening day for those two clubs. Supposed to do it yesterday, but it wink rained in Philadelphia.
Scared them. They got scared of the rain.
But they played in Baltimore, which, as I said to you yesterday, is only 90 minutes away from Philadelphia.
They had no problem. They finished the game.
They finished, man. And then did you see the cool shot of the new owners? And Terry's a Baltimore native. He would know the bar. There's a bar, I guess, like right across the street from Camden Yards, big sports bar, like right there. After the game, all the fans are congregating. New owners are in there introducing themselves. They get a big round of applause because the O's fans do not like the Angelos family. And now they are rid of the Angelos family. And Baltimore actually has a lot of bright young talent.
It's a fun team. But
they introduced themselves to the bar and to the fans, and then they bought the bar around. So now, now they're like, they're in.
That would buy me over.
And I forget which owner was talking, but then he was like, "Hey, I'm so and so, and I'm one of the new owners of the O's, and this is my buddy Smitty." And he did. He's like, "This is my buddy Smitty. He's one of the owners, too." And I always wanted to go like, wait, Smitty just some dude that you just met in the bar, and he gave you like $1?
It's like, hey, you can technically be like, you can have a slight stake in this. You just give me $1.
Right.
It's like attorneys on retainer. It's like, if you just give me $1 right now, then you are technically on retainer.
But good for them. But Atlanta is trying to get the opening day win and send Philly. I saw one kid that looked like he was already kind of dejected. A little guy. Buddy, it's only March. It's
you
cool.
got 161 more games of these, buddy.
And listen, I don't like the Philadelphia Phillies. I make no secret as a Braves fan.
It'd be strange if you did like them.
But they are good. They are good.
You have to say that because they have bounced you from the playoffs.
Have they? I didn't remember that.
Yeah. That is some very convenient amnesia.
Sure?
I'm really impressed.
Huh.
I wish my brain worked like that.
And I was letting you know, this is my, I don't know how good luck this shirt is, but it's this used to be like a really good navy blue. It's almost kind of gray now. I am wearing a long sleeve Atlanta Braves T-shirt, just with an A, on the left chest.
It's a nice shirt.
It's cool. It's just a Puma brand long sleeve T-shirt, but I got this shirt at the old Braves Clubhouse store in CNN Center in like 1993 or 4, somewhere in there. I now wear it like 2 or 3 times a year, but I always wear it on opening day. I've been wearing this shirt on opening day probably ever since I got it. So this is my traditional opening day shirt. So win or lose, this shirt comes out on opening day. I can't really wear it a whole lot because it's long sleeve, so it's not really a baseball season shirt. This is more to show my fandom of the Atlanta Braves in the off season.
Yeah, and opening day, sometimes it can be a little chilly. Like yesterday morning would have been a good day for it if they were to have played the game. But.
I was ready to wear it yesterday, but I pulled it out today instead, and I might wear it one more time while I can. 45-32 as we're about to wrap up this show. 45-32, inside a minute until halftime. South Carolina leads Indiana, and I think either Camilla or Malaysia is getting ready to go to the line. Braves 9-2, and 74.2% of you like a little char on your hot dog, as opposed to 20.5% who like it well done and smoky or just warmed through. Thanks for participating. Good stuff today. Thanks to John Whittle, to Mike Waddell, to Stuart Lake. Happy Easter to all. Elijah, good stuff. We'll see you all Monday. Have fun.
And there are some big tournament games tonight, some massive matchups, and I'm going to enjoy them, not because I got bracket interest, but because I play Underdog Fantasy, specifically the Pick'em game, and you can too. You just pick 2 to 5 players on a Pick'em entry from different teams. Tonight, I like Tyler Kolek to go higher than 8 assists in the game against NC State, and I really like Anton Watson from Gonzaga to get more than 23.5 points, plus rebounds, plus assists in their game against Purdue. You can follow along if you would like. This is on Underdog Fantasy, and if you join right now and use the promo code 1075, you will get your first deposit of $10 or more, up to $100 matched, plus a special pick. You just must be 18 and older, present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms do apply. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. Again, I like Tyler Kolek higher than 8 assists and higher than 22.5 points, rebounds, and assists for Anton Watson.